When you and I think about Honda, we think VTEC. And the temple of VTEC was built for us here in India by this city. And the car that I've got here with me today is claimed by Honda to be the quickest city on sale today. And I'm saying that this one is the new VTEC. Only thing is that this is, well, a hybrid. This is Honda City HEV, and it is, well, beautiful under the skin, and there's lots that we have to understand and get to know. Now, specialness at the first contact point isn't all that high. This key fob feels pretty ordinary, and when you look at the City, at first glance you're going to think, that's the regular City.
The LED headlamps and the chunky chrome bar are just like on the regular City, but there are changes, subtle ones.
It's not shouting out about its hybridness. There's only this blue tinge here around the Honda logo, but it is having a bit more of sportiness, which is derived from the Thailand market, where the City Hybrid is actually badged as an RS, which is why this honeycomb grille, the more aggressive cladding around the fog lamps makes sense.
But when you look down the side and compare it to the Thai RS,
things are a bit different here. The ORVMs aren't finished in black, the alloy wheels are still 16 inches, but they aren't any different in terms of design, and the City does not get a unique color to make it stand out as the hybrid. And at the rear, of course, continuing with the sporty theme, you get this boot lip spoiler and you get a 4 carbon fiber diffuser. So it's a hybrid, but it's also going for a sporty theme. Bit confusing.
Honda should have just called it an RS and gone the whole hog, or stuck to the hybrid guns and given it the Civic hybrid type of wheels at least.
And keeping the sporting theme in mind, some impracticalities are par for the course. You don't have as much luggage space as a regular City. It's down by 200 litres at 306. Well, that's obviously to keep the power to weight ratio strong. Hey Honda, you know what? You could actually make custom soft luggage for the City and sell it to customers, just like supercars do. And luckily this isn't supercar in terms of the ground clearance. The City Hybrid has as much as the regular City, and that's also because the battery pack isn't stored underneath here, it's under the boot, which is why the space there has shrunk. I missed pointing out earlier, there's no full-size spare wheel now, it's a space saver. The backseat experience hasn't changed. You still get lots of space here. The only difference is that now the leatherette upholstery is in ivory instead of beige, and well, if you're sitting back here, you will have to share some of that cool air that the AC is feeding you from here with the battery pack. That's how it gets cool when required.
If you're chauffeur driven, then the City Hybrid's backseat will still be one of your best options in the market.
And what's changed here? Well, the design looks the same. Still got that wood trim here, the nice soft touch finish.
The City HEV retains the plush, well-built feel of the regular City, but it also retains other things, like this.
The infotainment is still the same, which is very...
It looks and feels like an aftermarket system. No, it doesn't have a 360-degree camera, and the reversing camera's resolution is poor too. And it's all especially annoying when you compare it to something like this.
You still have that 7-inch display for the driver, which is crisp, beautiful. The change here is that you have an electronic parking brake, and here on the steering wheel, you have a lot more buttons to play around with, which has something to do with this little thing up here. A camera for the ADAS tech. We're going to be talking a lot of tech in this car, and ADAS is a great place to start because this safety feature is becoming more and more common, and like other cars, this is also offering you lane keep assist. It basically steers for you when required to keep you in between the lane, and it has road departure mitigation, which prevents you from driving off the road. But the two features that I really like are adaptive cruise control, which lets you set a speed, adjust the distance you want to keep from the vehicle up ahead, and then it will reduce the speed when a slower moving vehicle is in front of you. Convenient. And what really ups the safety in my books is collision mitigation braking, which will basically reduce the severity of a crash by applying the brakes or try and avoid it altogether. But in this also, the system could have been better, more sophisticated, by allowing you to adjust how much distance you would like to keep from the vehicle up ahead before it starts braking for an emergency. Finally, the juicy bits, and for this you need to clear your mind. This is going to be a little tricky. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you what I do not know, and that's the battery capacity, because Honda hasn't shared that. I cannot tell you how far the City Hybrid will drive in pure EV mode because Honda hasn't told us that, and it doesn't have a pure EV drive mode for us to test it out. Which brings us to, how does this work? Well, you still have a 1.5 litre engine, it has the same bore stroke as regular City, but this is an Atkinson cycle, so it just works a bit differently, and it is delivering 98 PS of power. That's it. Don't worry, because you've got the electric motor which is developing 109. So the grand total is over 200. Only thing is they complement each other, which is why you end up with a City petrol topping 126 PS of power and a lot more torque. Now, this system, how it works is really interesting because you have the pure EV mode where the juice from the batteries is delivered to the motor to drive the wheels, and then there's the series mode where the engine starts running to generate electricity to send to the motor or to the battery to top it up. Then there's the parallel hybrid mode, which is when the engine is directly driving the front wheels via a single speed gearbox, and this is an overdrive ratio, which means you're typically ending up using it when you're cruising, coasting out on the highway between 80 and 100 kilometers an hour. If you push any harder, the electric motor jumps in to do the work. If you lift off, well, then you have regen to top up the batteries all over again.
The City has a dedicated motor for regen. Every time you lift off the accelerator, you can use the steering mounted paddles to adjust how hard you would like the regenerative braking to be. The B mode remembers the preferred regen setting, which is especially handy when driving downhill.
With that out of the way, what does the City Hybrid feel like to drive? Experiment. Listen, listen. Sounds like gear changes, doesn't it? Well, Honda's done something very clever here. People didn't like this in CVTs, which is where the engine revs would rise and the progress wouldn't quite match that when compared to normal automatics or normal geared vehicles. So here what they're doing is when you accelerate hard and the engine spins up to create more electricity, it actually drops revs in between so that it feels like regular gear changes. That's pretty cool. It's quick. It's really quick. Top speed 176. Not the fastest City in the market though. Now the City might also feel a bit different in the way it drives because, well, it is heavier by about 120 kilograms, a lot of which is centered around the batteries out of the back, which is why it does feel a bit bouncier at the rear than what we remember of the City petrol. So is it sporty? Well, it is quick and it does have this effortlessness when you want to change pace. It almost feels creamy, you know, that juice that electrons provide has a slightly different zing to it. So it's very enjoyable in that sense. But does it feel connected? Well, not quite. But I guess the purpose of a hybrid like this is convenience, because you never have to plug it in to get energy into it, so you don't have to worry about charging network, and at the same time it can give you great efficiency. Honda claims a 40% improvement in fuel efficiency in the ARAI cycle over the petrol City, and that number is actually likely to be bettered when you are driving in the city in stop-go traffic. That's where it will excel.
While the running costs will be attractive, the City's poor infotainment system, lack of features like powered or ventilated seats will dampen its appeal. But is that it?
There is a catch, and a big one. We don't know where this is likely to be priced. Typically, we've seen battery electric vehicles being at a 50% premium to their ICE counterparts. This is likely to be 30 to 40% more, which is still a fair bit more.
Just like EVs, you will need to clock lakhs of kilometers to recover your hybrid investment. And hybrids don't make quite the same statement that EVs do. However, like VTEC, which brought the best of both worlds into one package, the HEV is bringing the best of all worlds: performance, efficiency, low emissions and convenience in one solid package. So, yeah, HEV is the new VTEC.